I'm going to share with all of you how karma spanked me hard. I wasn't the one Tobelev in karma, and that it gets back to Yuhei family. Before we dive into today's video, I'd really appreciate your support. Subscribing is one of the best ways to help us out. Tits quick, free, and keeps the awesome content coming. Every listen, like, and share truly means a lot. Let's keep this channel growing. Thank you so much. Story of my life is the perfect example how karma actually does exist. Let's start from the beginning. I'm a female, 29 years, and was married to my husband, male, 30 years. I was in a marriage for 3 years. My husband and I had no children. My marriage life was quite bland. There was no fun knock a mystery, and the worst part, no passion between me and my husband. You must be wondering why I got married to him when there was no passion between us, so it all started when I was an unemployed college dropout working part-time jobs. I couldn't afford an entire apartment on me own. When I met my ex-husband, he was looking for a roommate, and the rent share fitted in my budget. We became a roommates. Then my ex-husband was a nurse in the hospital. He was looking for a roommate because he didn't like living alone. Our situation worked quite well for us. He got a roommate, and I got a place with low rent. I had just come out off a relationship and was single at that point of time. My ex-husband, I'll say, happened to be single. I read something on Twitter a few days back which said people living in close distance are bound to get attracted towards each other. I don't know if that applies for everyone. That was quite true in our case. It started with normal breakfast occur. Sometime we used to get close while we were sitting on the couch and stuff like that. He would bring his date show. Sometimes when he had a day off, but that didn't really affect me. We were just roommates and borderline friends. He was a really funny guy doing well in his profession. It was quite easy to get attracted to him, and that happened with him as well. I started developing a bit of a crush on him. We were living together for 6 months around that time when his dates getting home started bothering me a lot. I thought of making a move on him, but couldn't gather the courage to do so. Wasn't in a relationship. He said that no girlfriend was going to put up with work schedule of a nurse. Months passed by like this when he finally Medethi. First move, he asked me out to dinner. A Friday night he told me he had developed a crush on me. I instantly said ease, and that's how we started dating. Dated, did like this for a year. I was his roommate for quite a long time and had gotten used to his work schedule. It didn't bother me. I understood that the medical field didn't work on a fix on 5 schedule. He had told me many times that he wanted to start a family as soon as possible. We both had the same thoughts about family, so it wasn't a surprise when he asked me to marry him. He agreed to marry him. We both were young and didn't know much about life or love. I thought he was my person and was ready to spend my life with him. We just hot that this relationship was a tinned. Got married when he told his parents that he was getting married to me. They crunched up their nose. They thought that he deserved better than me, that I was not his match, and blah blah. I remember them telling him that I was just a college dropout and that he could get someone way better than me. It really hurted. And when that happened, they made him sign a prenup to make sure that I didn't take their son's assets. Their ejection made me feel inferior, and no matter how much my ex-husband tried to tosher me and consoled me, it still created a gap between us. I should have taken that as a sign that our marriage wasn't going to work with this distance, but I felt that as long as my husband was treating me like his equal, our marriage will work smoothly. However, after we got married, I realized that the marriage in theory and marriage in reality were poles apart. After a year and a half of our marriage, the distance between me and my husband started increasing more and more. Marriage came with too many responsibilities, and it wasn't prepared for that. My husband's behavior changed as well. The guy who's to be so romantic and caring suddenly got so busy that we stopped spending time together at all. I thought he was prepared to adjust to his work timing and everything, but his schedule ate even worse. After our marriage earlier, when we were dating, he used to busy, but still used to make some efforts in our relationship. Soon after our marriage, everything stopped. I was working as a receptionist at that time in a 5-star hotel. I started spending a lot of time at work. I was quite lonely and depressed for my marriage life. My husband and I had stopped being intimate with each other. We even stopped buying friends. He was so busy in his life thought he had no time for me. Sometimes I thought that he had stopped caring about me. Our marriage wasn't working out the way we had thought. Instead, it was the complete opposite. We tried to conceive. Amy husband stopped being into Maybe in the starting first year of her marriage. But we couldn't after a few trees. My husband stopped being intimate with me. I was mentally and physically depressed. It was around this time when Emmett Steve was a chef in the hotel I was working in. We both used to meet on a frequent basis. He was really good looking. We became sort of work friends. When my husband stopped showing interest in me, Steve always made efforts to meet me and to ask how I was doing. He would notice small details about me that Ty had hoped that my husband would notice, but he never did. I remember that I got a haircut once and my ex-husband didn't even look at my side. I felt quite bad, but the next day at work, Steve complimented me about my new hair. These small things made me feel better. Steve was really easygoing. We had lots of conversations over coffee and dinner. If I was really busy with work, he would come with coffee for me in a travel mug. I liked spending time with him. Steve had just gotten out of a divorce with his wife. Initially, our conversations used Tobe about how hard it was for him to move in life. Steve was married for 4 years, and then his wife told him Thatch didn't want to be with him. I understood what he was going through. Bevan, though me and my ex-husband were still living under the same roof, he made him feel like he didn't want to be with him anymore. I felt like we had gone back to the phase when we used to be just roommates. He would smile at me and ask about my day, but that was all at Wassel. Very platonic, our relationship had stopped being a romantic one. Every time I tried to get close to him, he would make some excuse and leave me like that act liked. Spending time with Steve, he was knowingly interested in talking to me. It was like two friends bonding over Sharatruma. We both were lonely and our Livish would tell me how his marriage fell apart. Steve used to tell me that he and his ex-wife got so busy in their life that they grew so apart from each other that the distance and damage created between them seemed irreparable. He told him that. And his wife stopped being intimate with each other. His words resonated with me. He had gone through same thing I was going through. My husband's work schedule was never fixed. I slept with my husband's coworker Simites. He would have night shifts and would spend the entire nights in the hospital. I didn't like going to an empty house, so I used to stay for dinners with Steve. He used to stay alone to and didn't mind. Staying late with me, spending time with Steve felt quite good. I felt like I had found a companion. Me and Steve grew quite fond of each other. With passing time, I started developing feelings for him. One day when Steve and Andy were out for dinner, we both had a few drinks together. There was a couple on Edible near us. They were kissing and hugging. Seeing them together so happy and in love made me feel even more empty. I wanted this in my life as well. He wanted to have a loving husband. The drinks made me emotional and I started crying right then and there. I couldn't stop the tears that were coming. I felt like my heart was breaking. My marriage was failing in front of my eyes, and there was nothing I could do about it. Steve came on my side of the table and started wiping away my tears. I was already emotional, and his gesture sent over the edge. He was so close to method. I went ahead and kissed him. Steve was shocked for a second, but then kissed me back. That kiss made me feel so good. I was finally getting something he wanted in my life. Steve asked me if he wanted to get out of there and go to his place with him. It was a no-brainer. I wasn't going to spend the night feeling rejected in my own house when I could spend the night in Steve's arms. Steve took me to his house. Not proud of what happened that night, but I was really drunk, and it had been so long since I got intimate that I was physically frustrated. I don't remember who I initiated and what, but what I do remember was that it was the first night when I slept with Steve. The next morning I woke up with a text from my husband. He had a night shift previous night, so left in the evening and came back in the morning. He thought that I had left early for work. It was the perfect Leon. I just went with that. That morning Steve told me that he liked me a lot. I liked him too. He told me that it was my decision whether I wanted to forget about that night or continue new with a pan that night. Knew it was what I was doing. I was a married woman, but I didn't feel married anymore. I was feeling so empty and alone. Thing with Steve was the only thing that was keeping me sane, and I really enjoyed that night with him after thinking a lot about it. I told Steve that I would like to be with him if he wanted the same ways. Steve knew about my marriage troubles, told me that he understood where I was coming from. We even talked about how we will end it immediately. If either of us felt like that, it was just like friends with benefits sort of thing. Steve told him that he didn't want to ruin my marriage. I told him there isn't much to it. I thought to myself that if I was satisfied physically, then I could focus in other aspects of my marriage. My husband had made it obvious that Hugh and interested in me physically. I didn't know the reason, but it was clear, and that's how my affair with Steve began. My husband used to spend so little time. It's at home that he didn't even notice when I used to spend time with Steve. It was on very rare occasions when he would ask me where I was. I used to just give him some excuse that I was taking an extra shift, or that I was hanging out with some friend. His concern was Summoner, that I never had to make Summoner reason. It was like he didn't even care. He was just asking because well loved in the same house. The distance between us kept growing. On the other hand, Steve and I got really close. We were physically and emotionally compatible. He used to treat me really well. I was finally happy after such a long time. I felt that my life was finale getting the way I always wanted to die. Got pregnant to be. I was getting really attached to Steve. He was a passionate guy. I thought that if I had met him before, we would have been very happy together. Everything was going really well. Steve was happy with me, and my ex-husband was so occupied that he didn't notice that I was having an affair. It made me feel bad that I didn't even care to notice that his wife was sleeping with someone else a bit. I thought that it was for the best. Anley, it allowed me to spend more time with Steve. Our affair was going on for around 3-4 months. When I noticed that my periods were really late, it made me worried, but I thought that maybe Ethapan, because of stress, it had happened to me. Before so, I didn't pay much attention to it. Also, Steve Alice used a condom when we got intimate. I was quite sure in my head that it was backs of stress or something, but when more than 20 days passed and I didn't get my period, I started getting really worried. I told Steve that this had happened. He got worried as well and told him that I should do a pregnancy test just to rule it out. I agreed with Hyman, did the pregnancy test. To my horror and surprise, I was pregnant. I tested it thrice just to be sure, and it came up positive all the time. I was so shocked that I didn't know what to feel. I always wanted a child, but what I was going to do when my husband found out that I was shaving an affair, I texted Steve and told him to meet me immediately. I went over to his place. As soon as I saw him, I went to hug him and started crying. I told him that I was pregnant. Steve was also shocked with the news. He couldn't believe that I was pregnant. He kept repeating how he always used a condom. He hesitantly asked me if I was sure it was his child. I was shocked that he was insinuating something like this. I was about to leave his house when he started clarifying that he was just making sure that I didn't get intimate with my husband. I told him that he already knew me. Husband and I didn't get intimate together. He told me that he was just making sure, and I suddenly remembered that after a long time, me and my husband got intimate one night after he came back from work. It was around a month ago. It was so random and sudden that it completely slipped my mind. I started feeling nauseated and went home. I need dead to know who the father of the child was. Next, I took off from work the next day and went to the hospital Heidel. It was a different hospital than where my ex-husband used to work. At the doctor did some tests and told me the report will come shortly. The same evening I got test reports. I was pregnant. I was 6 weeks pregnant. It was clear to me now that Steve was the father because I had conceived before. I got intimate with my husband. I showed the reports to Steve. Steve told me that this child would cause complications and it was best if he got it aborted. He said he didn't want awkward, and even if he did want, we weren't on in a relationship. We shouldn't bring a child like that. I knew Steve was right. I knew that the right thing was to get an abortion. I just didn't want to doth it. It was my baby. I always wanted my family, and this was my chance. I was nearing my 30s and knew that with time getting pregnant would also get difficult. I told Steve that I will think about it and went home. In my head, I knew that I wanted this baby. I was thinking off a way about what to do on the way home. When I got home, my ex-husband was in the living room. It was strange for him to be here. I asked him what's going on when he told me that he got an email today from that hospital. I stopped breathing for a second. I knew what he was talking about. I had messed up out off habit. I had also given his email address alongside mine. That meant he also arrived the mail with a pregnancy report. I didn't know what to say, so he just waited for him to continue. He showed me the mail and asked me what's going on. I don't know what came to mind, but I went and hugged him and told him thought I was pregnant. I told him that we were going to be parents. I told him that Ty Wanted to surprise him with the news that night. He looked at me for a long time but didn't say anything. He finally hugged me and then said he's very happy that we were going to start our own family. My husband left for his night shift. After that, I went to meet Stevie Jane and confessed everything to him. Told him that I had slept with Maya Span once last month, and even though it's not his child, we will raise that child together. Steve was shocked, and Steve's reaction told me that it was a fraud, but I said I wasn't going to get the abortion end. My husband already knew about it and was happy with the news. Steve got real angry with me. That was the first time he was like that. He told me that I was praying my husband and if I wished to continue betraying him. Steve didn't want to be part of my life. His rejection hurted me. I just wanted my baby. I wanted to be a mother. I didn't understand what was wrong with it. I finally got back home and went to sleep with a broken heart. The next morning when I woke up, Mahasband was sitting on the edge of Thebes. I asked him, "What's going on?" Hell looked really angry. He said that. I didn't need to lie to him anymore. I didn't understand what he was talking about. I asked him what he was talking about. He showed me my pregnancy report again and asked me how it was possible that I was 6 weeks pregnant when Wes left 30 days ago. I didn't think that he would catch that it was my mistake. I tried to cover it up and told him, thus getting confused, and it has been more than 30 days. I thought he would belly of me, but I was wrong. He laughed at M angrily and told me that Hari remembered the exact day because they had an office party that day, and he was really drunk. He told me that he checked its date again the previous night. He angrily asked me who was the father of the child, because he was sure as hell it wasn't his eye, then broke down on Thefler and told him that it was my affair partner's child. I told him that I was shaving an affair behind his back, but never thought that I would get pregnant. I was sitting on the floor. In crying, he came near me, and I thought that maybe he would pick me up, but instead he just stood above me and told me to leave his house and to never show my face to him again. I started crying even more and begged him to not do this. I told him that I will get an abortion if he was ready to give us another chance. He thought about it and said that he didn't want to remember that I was with another man. If I could let go and get an abortion, that he would be able to give her a marriage a fair chance. I wanted Tob a mother, but I didn't want it like that if abortion was the only way to Zolovich. Our marriage, I didn't have a problem with it. Went to the doctor with him and got an abortion. The doctor prescribed me some medicine, she said. No surgery was required as it was only 6 weeks. I took the pill. The doctor had a state to visit again. After 15 days, Soch could make sure that the fetus was removed completely. Me husband was normal these 15 days. I didn't expect him to get completely fine with the news that I was having an affair. I thought that he would get better with time. I used to rest mostly. After 15 days, the doctor told us that the fetus was removed completely. I felt it for a bit, but then I thought it was for the best. I thought that now I could have a proper family, but I was so wrong. Becca's. As soon as we got back home from the hospital, my husband handed me divorce papers. I didn't understand what was happening. He told me that he thought a lot, but he cannot be with any more Hesed. That every time he looked at me, he was reminded about how I went behind his back and betrayed him with another man. He told me I disgusted him. I begged him to forgive me and give me another chance. But his mind was made, and there was nothing I could do to change it. He said it was best if I signed the papers and left his house. I was so heartbroken. I had lost everything. I had lost Maya's band. I had lost Steve, and I also got an abortion. I broke down and cried a lot. Me tears were insignificant to him, he said. Hugh was going out and wanted me gone when he would come back. I stayed in the living room and cried for hours. I finally got up and then went to collect my luggage. I packed the necessary stuff and left the house. It was so hard to say goodbye and sign the divorce papers, but I did. I tin away. So yeah, it has been almost a year since all this happened. I haven't completely moved on from it, but still finally gathered the courage to share either. After a lot of thinking, I realized and thought it was only me who was responsible for what happened to me. I did the wrong thing with my ex-husband, and therefore Ilso suffered because of it. Don't mac it. Same mistake like me, guys. Every day I'm surrounded by the hurt and grief of Hut. Happened to me, I'm trying to forget. Chapter of life and move on. Beauteets. Not that easy anyways. Thank you all for reading till here.